Good afternoon, Whisperers, and welcome to another extraordinary episode of Whispers in a Bottle Grown Talk Cocktail Fridays. I am your host, Sonya Live, lifestyle relationship counselor, fashion psychologist, holistic health and wellness practitioner. And oh my goodness, Whisperers, I am so excited and so happy to be back in our safe zone, the Whisperers Lounge. I hope that you all had a productive week, that you're doing well, and that you are prepared to come in and have another great conversation with me. So, Whisperers, how much I love to monitor a great chat box. And Blog, Blog Talk Radio had it where we had the chat all the time. Well, guess what? PodBean has done the same thing. In each and every one of our episodes, we have the chat box that is live. You can drop your comments, your questions in there. And only thing I say is that you please give dignity and respect, because we always want to honor our space and place and keeping it a safe zone. And that's what makes this such a rich and dynamic community of ours of whisperers, because we value each other's opinions and we really take each other seriously in the manner of where we're going to give respect and dignity. And don't forget that if you haven't subscribed to our fabulous newsletter, please make sure that you do so, because I'm telling you, you're missing out on the mocktail cocktail of the episode. And I'm trying to tell you, we produce some great mocktails, but also in that newsletter, you get extra bonuses with regards to each episode that we have. So, guess what? You'll get a bonus to this discussion that I'm going to have today with you on emotional bank account, deposits, and withdrawals. So, you know what? Let's get into it. That's enough of the little cleaning up and everything. So, Whisperers, I like to start all of our discussions off with a clear meaning or a definition. So, this isn't going to be any different. So, we're going to get the meaning of emotional bank. So, let me give it to you again. Emotional bank. So, that means the positive and negative balances in a relationship. Ooh, right? That's powerful. Let it vibrate for a second. I'm going to give you that definition again for emotional bank. It's the positive and negative balances in our relationships. So, this is going to be a deep conversation. We're going to take our time with it, and we're going to really build this out beautifully. So, Whispers, in this compelling discussion, right? I want us to explore the intricate dynamics of managing relationships through the lens of an emotional bank account. So, this way, we're going to set it up. I want to paint a beautiful picture for you so you really can connect with this, okay? See, the relationships, much like financial accounts, thrive on a consistent deposit of intentional management, while overdrafts, they're much more on that emotional missteps. And they can even lead to a fractured trust and strained connections. So that means we have to learn how to sidestep those relations or those pitfalls. Let's put it that way. Let's not even try to sidestep the relationships. We're going to sidestep the pitfalls. This way, we're really kind of putting it in the right perspective and space and place in our heart and our mind. And we're going to nurture our emotional wealth with 3 master keys. And I tell you all the time that I give you master keys in every discussion. And as we get closer to me giving you those master keys, I'm going to tell you why I give master keys out. And I told you, every episode you're going to hear me tell you about this. But that's even for those that have never listened to me before, that really get the understanding, the reason, the meaning, the texture of why master keys are necessary to us. So these keys are not only to fortify our relationships, though, but they're going to even enhance our emotional property. That's powerful, Whispers. So I want you to grab your mocktail, take a little sip, kick back a little bit, get your notebook, get comfortable and make sure you have your proverbial keychains. And now, see, I told you that because here's the reason why I give you the master keys. The master keys are there to allow you to open up the corridors, the hallways, those secret compartments of your heart and your mind. But those master keys are also powerful because not only do they open, they actually close out that inner and outer noise that drowns out and tries to sabotage your banking account, your emotional bank accounts, the growth, the potential, the walk that you really want to go towards. So, this will be able to really maneuver our master keys strategically. Because we know that if we go to a safe deposit box, we have to have two keys to get into that box. Else, there's no way that we can get in there. So if we don't have the banker there to allow us into the safe deposit box, first and foremost, you know you can't get in. Then if you don't have your key, you can't get in either. So in turn, when we're working on self, it means that we must be able to call up or recall keys that are going to be a benefit to us. So let's lean in to our first master key. The first master key is that understanding the emotional bank account. So we got to get an understanding of what type of account we have or what kind of bank we're with. See, relationships are in like an essence, a series of transactions, meaning the exchange or the interaction between people. So each interaction, be it a gesture, maybe a word, or a moment in connection, acts as either like that deposit for us or a withdrawal in our emotional account that we share with others. So much like your checking account, your savings account, it has all the same things. See, and if we look at it in that aspect, we're really getting to see that we deposit or we're depositing to build trust in that relationship. We're depositing affection, goodwill. But see, the withdrawal, on the other hand, can erode the very foundation of those connections. Matter of fact, it can even put you in a deficit. Now, you know you never want to go to your bank and see it in red numbers. You're like, what in the world happened? Matter of fact, you might start checking, you might start double checking, calling, discrepancies and everything else. So, Whisperers, I want you to imagine this account as a reservoir, right? Remember last week I spoke on how we want to pour from the reservoir that supplies our overflow? So that means that we are building a savings account. Oh, isn't that powerful? That's a savings account on trust. Now, when we acknowledge, right, someone's feelings or express gratitude or demonstrate empathy, there's that word. It comes into a lot of discussions when we're talking about that intellectual and that emotional space and place. We are excuse me, I'm so sorry. We're depositing emotional currency, and that's even in a vice versa manner. That means that it's on a double side, it's on both sides of that table. But in a contrast, if a person is like neglectful or maybe a very harsh critic or maybe even dismissive, because let's kind of give it a little that tepid kind of feel, like sometimes people are just dismissive. They really just tap out. They're not really there. So the withdrawals from your resources or that reservoir or the balance, which in turn leaves us vulnerable to an emotional deficit. See, that's how it works on both sides of that table. So it would require that introspective questions we would need to ask ourselves. So, I tell you all the time, those introspective questions are those hard questions for self. They're those deep diving questions that we have to sit and let ruminate a little bit, and they have to be pondered over. So to start out, we would want to ask a question like, what's the current balance in my emotional account? Whew. Now you all have to sit with that. You have to figure that out for yourselves. What's the current balance in my emotional account? See, have you been investing with care, or are you teetering on the brink of an overdraft or bankruptcy? See, that's how powerful it is. And you may remember that I encourage you to audit your inner circle. And I tell you all the time that you want to make sure that the assets that you have there are accumulating worth and value. And to make sure that they are vibrating at a higher decimal that will challenge you, encourage you, empower you, even uplift you. But you realize in all those spaces and places of where I'm speaking, that means that the currency that is going into that account is of value and worth. It's like having stocks or bonds. Now you can have great stocks that are really, performing. Your portfolio is beautiful. But all of a sudden you get some stocks and they're like junk. And every time you turn around, they have dropped. And they've dropped again. They depreciated. And every time you turn around, they are saying to you possibly that you may need to dump these. But you think to yourself, oh, let me hold on to them a little bit longer. Those are those connections to the people that we should audit. We're holding on to them. But little by little, they are depleting and they are dropping the value, not their value, but yours. See, this is your account. This is where it's resonating and vibrating into you. What is your value? So now you're in a deficit. So this means you have to guard your energy on your emotional bank from being burglarized. Whew. Now, trust me, I've put words into this discussion for a reason. And I tell you all the time to listen to the words that I put into our discussions and to really hear what I'm saying. Because a lot of times the words that we put in here are for impact and they have a different kind of reverence that breathes into that space. I've even taught you all throughout our time together here at Whispers in a Bottle the power in why. And sometimes we have to be willing to sit in that space and place when we're looking at that our bank account and in it withdrawals on the why. And how that life is breathed into that space and place from that investment or that person that is that investment. So, whispers, of course, that leads us right into our second master key. And that second master key is avoiding emotional overdrafts. Now, I know some of you might say, well, that's easier said than done, Sonya. Well, let's lean into it for a little bit. See, emotional overdrafts occur when the withdrawal surpasses the deposit. The withdrawal surpasses the deposit, meaning that you don't have enough equity in that account to withdraw from. The balance often is a manifest of unresolved conflicts, resentments, emotional detachment, carrying and harboring ill will or feelings, or being in that space and place of constantly putting in a negative. So, to prevent these overdrafts, we must be willing. And notice the word I said, we have to be willing to enlist 3 secondary keys in this space and place. Now you see why it's so important for you to bring your proverbial keychains with you. Because see, now these secondary keys have to come in. And the secondary key that you're going to get first is that we have to practice active listening. Wait, what did she just say? We have to practice active listening. Now, let me just state this for the record, okay? And I've had to do this on different occasions, different stages, and everything else. And really to inform people that active listening is a real skill. It is a skill. And many times people have not developed this skill. They have developed the skill of hearing. That's it. They hear you. And they have heard you in a way that you did not say that. So it means that you have to, or you are genuinely listening. Genuine. Technically genuine. The genuine factor of listening, not listening to make a reply or giving a defense. And this means that we are engaging without distraction or validate the speaker's feelings. We are doing all the things that we are supposed to be doing. And this is the one most powerful deposit we can make. So when we're actively listening, that means we are hearing things and listening and taking in. It's almost like ingesting the person's discussion or words. And as we're listening, that active listening means that we're putting forth effort. We're looking them in the face. We're acknowledging certain things. We may even jot down something that they said because we want to bring it back up when we're talking to them and making sure that we have the clarity of what they stated. So as a therapist, active listening is such an important thing. And I have to tell you that it's a powerful skill that takes a lot of practice too. And it's so funny because as an active listener, I hear things that even my clients don't say. I hear what they don't even say. So as they're speaking to me and they're telling me certain things, and as they're pouring into certain matters or how they're feeling about certain things, I say to them back what they have stated, or I validated the feeling that they're having, but then I openly ask a question that leans in to what we are speaking about, or what is causing them to have a deficit. So, whisperers, are you actively listening? Or are you listening so you can make rebuttal? Oh no, I got wait when they fit. Oh, I'm gonna say this. That you're all hyped up and you're ready to just go on to attack. So then it would mean that you would have to tap into the next key, that secondary key that I'm going to give you of cultivating emotional awareness. Yes, she does hear what you don't say. I love that. I told you the chat box is always great. So we want to cultivate emotional awareness. That means that we have to recognize our own triggers and emotional patterns. Do you know what your triggers are? Do you know what your patterns are? Have you sat and you've made it a them and not a me? See, that's where that cultivating emotional awareness comes in. It's not a them, it's a you, it's a me. So by doing so, you can approach conflict with clarity and avoid unnecessary withdrawals that are caused by reactive behavior. See, reactive. Many times, you know what, whispers, people allow their emotions to control them instead of them controlling their emotions. And I'm going to go and pull that discussion that I had on another platform. And I might put it in here as a bonus episode that you all can hear. Like when we go on our spring hiatus, that'll be a couple of bonus episodes that you can listen to. Because, I really like to come in and that we have live discussions. I don't like pre-recorded things, but I definitely feel that this is something that would be a benefit because sometimes we have to realize that our emotions are big. They are big. They have a brighter, bigger voice than even what we realize. And they are not actively listening to anything. They are not cultivating emotional awareness in the space and place, or they are not even giving the consideration to boundaries that have been placed, and they are depleting your deposits. That account is just getting lower and lower and lower because the emotions are overdriving and overriding and withdrawing so much that you don't even realize that the supposed safety deposit box that you have over there has been burglarized and they've taken the jewels. And it's the best heist that is happening, but it's right within you. So it's causing situations to become something that they don't even have to become. So it means that we have to be willing to pivot and look into that secondary third key. And that means prioritize consistent, small deposits. See, grand gestures are wonderful. They can even be impactful. But relationships are truly nourished by the small, personal, consistent, kind, small deposits that are made. And thoughtful messages or caring ways of validating a feeling or an emotion, or how we are valuing the relationship that we are in. And simply showing up when it matters the most. I always say this, and I don't really talk about it a lot. I don't put it out there a whole lot for for anybody, but I always say that my husband is my person. Because one thing, I can actually talk to him. I can talk to him about a little bit of everything and anything, and vice versa. But he's my person. He's almost like tag, you're it. And things that sometimes are sitting in my space and place, I can go to him and we just kind of even can look at each other, and it's just the look that just kind of is like, all right. And it's that kind of solidification that happens. And so when we prioritize the small deposits, it builds such a wealth. It accumulates before you even realize it. It's like the dividends that get paid out or residuals. And see, I told you I come out of music, so residuals are a big thing. And really being able to have the residuals and how they pay you out on your music, on different things, on your ASCAP and everything else. It's a powerful way of having, continual revenue. And it's the same thing in our relationships, and especially when we're thinking about the emotional bank account, the deposits and the withdrawals, and how we're placing this account into our life, and how we're looking at the transactions that are taking place in our life. See, Whisperers, I told you this season was a powerful season. It was much like that season that we had with regards to the ego. And even our season that we had when we talked about relationships, were your relationships, were they, a top brand, or were they a bargain basement? And we put different kind of things in that discussion and place and space. So much like this season, we are truly building out such a beautiful foundation. It's like we're building a mansion, an emotional safeguard, a place to house all the dynamics that we as people house, but we get to refine it and build it to the pristine of where we want to be. But don't forget, We are perfectly imperfect. So we are going to make missteps. We're going to have some things that it's going to be a line that ruptures in the house, or maybe there's a crack in the wall because we got to go and fix some things, because that's how we are. We are projects, always in work and development. We may need to build on a beautiful terrace. So now we got a terrace and we have a gazebo and everything else that we're building on. But these are the qualities that we want to build on. So that moves me into, how do we build emotional wealth, though? So here we go with some more keys. First and foremost, the reciprocation principle. The reciprocation principle. See, relationships are a beautiful dance of give and take. So I don't know how many of you all know how to salsa or even tango. So with the tango, the gentleman is really the front and he's leading that woman in such a way. But the tango is also a dance of aggression and sexuality too. So she has to be in that foremost place of almost being like the bull with the matador. And she has to know how to take the grace and the position. And the lines are just so that when they step to the left and she steps out to the right, they are still in sync. And when they come back together and cross over each other, there's no trip, there's no fall. There's just beautiful, beautiful step into sway, into a salsa, and back into that hold again. So that's how important that reciprocation principle is. It's unconditional love. That should be the goal. That should be the finer asset in the point. It's a healthy relational dynamic requirement of each other. It's a mutual investment, actually. It means that you both are putting in to that account. So literally the bank is being built. Maybe you got that mind and that set in your head that, you know what, we're going to get us a house, so we got to put X amount of money away. So you both are working towards the goal. Meaning that this is a two-way street. A two-way street. It's an equal playing field. It means that you have to reflect on your relationship. Are they balanced? Or are you giving more than you're receiving? Or are you giving less than what is being given? See, you have to look at it. You have to do the adjustments. And it has to be almost on a bird's eye view. And I tell you about bird's eye view because this way you can look down at a clear picture of yourself, as well as that person or the people that are in that space and place. It means that you have to ensure the harmony. Ensure. So it means that you have dynamic jewels that you have in that safe deposit box that you should definitely have insured. Now see, Whisper, that's deep. That's powerful. I told you, this discussion is vibrating at such a decimal that we got to maybe come back and pick up those master keys, because sometimes we hear it. Remember, we're developing the skill of listening, the active listening that we need. So we may have to come back and get those keys again, because then it moves us into that next place and space for this key. And that's the power of forgiveness. See, emotional wealth, wait, let me say it like this. Emotional wealth is possible to achieve without, well, actually, it's impossible to achieve without the ability to forgive. In all honesty, you cannot achieve it if you don't forgive. And I want you to really hear me on that point, because a lot of times we say that, but we kind of maybe glaze over it or brush by. But I don't believe in that. I believe in full transparency. When we have a discussion and we're going deep on a discussion, I want to pull back all the curtains. I want to peel that onion so you really can get it and get the flavor of what I'm speaking on. See, forgiveness, it has to be required on both sides. And meaning that you have to forge this together. And you have to be willing to let go. And holding on to past grievances, basically, you're just festering. It's a horrible sore that can never heal. And a lot of times when I work with clients, I may even hear the statement that, oh, yes, I will forgive, but I will never forget. And I look at the person, I said, well, then what are we doing here? What exactly are we doing here? I will forgive, but I will never forget. That means you don't forgive the person. That means if the person even trips just a second, like just makes a little trip, you're going to bring it back up. You're going to drag them for 50 yards. You're going to run away with the game, that they have no points in the game and you are over here at 112. And it's a slaughter. See, forgiveness doesn't mean that you just act oblivious to things. That's not what I'm saying. And when people say, "Oh, that's what I was saying. I forget, but I'm not going to forget." No, that's not what you're saying. You're saying exactly what you just meant. And I heard and I'm listening, active listening to what you're saying. And your partner also was actively listening to what you just said too. So it means that we forgive in a deeper space and place of our heart. That we don't keep recalling it back to our mind, recalling it back to our heart, recalling it back for injury, recalling it back for withdrawal, that we're a deficit. It means that we are moving forward and we are using that place and space as a stepping stone into our greatness, into the capability of building and depositing wealth into each other. But a lot of times in relationships, unfortunately, when there are errors or mistakes or heart has been hurt, forgiveness becomes a weapon. It gets weaponized. So in turn, it becomes a deficit. And it withdraws tons of assets. Not just a small little point. It just takes up everything. And even for the person that is making the withdrawal, they realize that they have nothing. They are bankrupt. They are empty. And there is nothing there. So forgiveness is powerful. As they say, forgiveness is more even so for ourselves. I forgive myself for being so angry and so filled with hate and rage against you. I forgive me for keeping this constantly brewing in my heart and my mind, that I keep putting us into a deficit. Or simply, I forgive me for not realizing or seeing the authentic person that you want to become. Sometimes it's that powerful, whispers. And that's why I said this discussion was nothing that I could take and just put it in a pretty little bow and just be like, okay, well, guys, have a great afternoon. I had to be willing to sit in this space and place to develop this. So I want us to get into that third area. And that means, and I've been talking about this. Matter of fact, I even had a powerful discussion. If you're not with me over on the Noon Vibe app, Make sure that you connect with me over on Instagram at whispersinabottle_podcast, because this third key that I'm about to give you was a powerful discussion we had Thursday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time over on Noon Vibe. And it's none other than boundaries as a safeguard. Now, Thursday, I spoke about setting healthy boundaries without guilt. Now, you realize that these two are hand in hand. So, if you need to go pick up those master keys to be able to really fill in the blanks with this key too, please, I really say go and pick them up. I really ask you to make sure that you're following us over on Instagram at whispersinabottle_podcast so you can really build on your keys and in your bank account. Because boundaries as a safeguard, just as a financial account needs a safeguard, right? Emotional accounts thrive on clear boundaries. And these boundaries protect your emotional energy. They ensure you don't deplete yourself in unbalanced or even toxic ways. And, a lot of times when we're setting boundaries, right, we have to respect the boundaries that we set for ourselves. That means that we're not going to overstep, override, kind of bend them. Oh, they're flexible. No, because then we teach people that they can overstep, they can walk across and do whatever. But when we're talking about a bank account, when we have boundaries, that safeguard, and you may have even a fraud protection on your account. You know that you can literally call them and say, look, I don't recognize this charge here. I didn't charge this. And they will be like, no problem. We'll go and investigate this. And matter of fact, they may even refund your money before you get off the phone. They may tell you, you know what, to safeguard your account, we're going to put it on a pause here. We're going to close this card and you come into the branch. We'll give you a new card. This way, no one can actually tamper with your account. It's the same thing that we have to be willing to do in our boundaries to safeguard our heart, safeguard our mindset, safeguard our physical, emotional, all of it in totality. Whisperers, this is something that is dynamic. This is something that is not just superficial. It is not a superficial quality of emotional bank accounts that we are doing deposits and withdrawals from. These are deeper emotions, deeper set in our heart. These are things that are causing dry rot or even causing us bankruptcy. But we have to honestly look at it. See, Whispers, all these dynamic elements, they actually go into us being able to accumulate our wealth in our emotional safety deposit boxes. And I always say that these are such powerful tools. But you don't even realize why I say they're tools, because it's just like a plumber. There are plumbers that, they can do the job. They do the job. But then you have a master plumber. And their skills and their tools, how they wield those tools, they are just incredible. Or even you have a master sheetrock or marble or glass. Matter of fact, let me just tell you, if you go get marble, there's a master in the cutting of the marble. Because if they cut it wrong, it actually makes it that it devalues it. And then on top of it, it can splinter it. And then your marble is just going to crack, almost like it shatters, almost like glass. So they send it to a master cutter. And he knows that either he's going to cut it with a diamond blade or he's going to cut it with water, one or the other, depending on that marble. But see, he's a master at it. And it's the same thing that we want to be when we're wielding and using our master keys. Because, see, they're necessary for our growth. They're necessary for our mental well-being. They're necessary for our emotional well-being. They're necessary for our physical well-being. See, that's how powerful these keys are. And that's why I always give out the keys, because I want you to be able to open up those corridors, the hallways, the secret compartments, the chambers. That's how we make pivots. That's how we change. That's how we shift. You know, I always say it seems like our time just goes so fast when we get in here. And I always tell you that there's so much more that I want to share with you. So that's why I've actually put a special segment into the Whispers Exchange, which is our newsletter. So if you haven't subscribed to the newsletter, once this goes live out on the site, make sure that you click the link so you can subscribe to our newsletter, or you can always come over to Instagram at whispers_in_podcast. And in our bio, we always have a live link in our bio, because there's other elements that I also want to share with you. And there's actually going to be some other secondary keys that I'm going to give you in that newsletter as well for this discussion. So that's how powerful it is to stay connected, and why I build community, and why I keep in this exchange. Notice exchange. It's the currency that I want to keep. And it's the vibration and the decimal that I want to keep at that deafening level. So, whispers, I want you to realize that these are deeper elements. These are things that are shifting our dynamics, shifting your dynamics. And, I always tell you that there's places and spaces that we have to be willing to sit in. And sometimes that place and space is in pausing. And I teach and constantly tell you about the power in pausing. So I tell you also that literally, if you need help and you're looking to enrich your life and to move past certain things, or not keep depleting your emotional bank account, book a 30-minute consultation. It's free. You'll be so surprised what you can accomplish in 30 minutes with speaking with me. Because, see, I believe that we go to work right then and there. I believe that we pivot, we change, and we start looking at that bird's eye view together. So don't forget, there's always a link in the description box that you can book a free consultation with me. And I hope that you will share our show with someone who really needs to hear this discussion. Like, we want to always be able to encourage and uplift people. And in this day and age, people need to hear something that is going to be positive, something that is going to help them to refine themselves, or to step up and step over certain obstacles, that they don't keep tripping and falling. But even if they trip and fall, they get up. And this episode could be the stepping stone, or just that little piece that they can get their fingers into to pull themselves up again. So share the episode. And don't forget, if you haven't followed us, or if you want me for any speaking engagements, feel free to tap into our publicist. His name is Trey. He's also on Instagram as well. Matter of fact, he's even in the lounge tonight. And so if you want to drop your link in there too, Trey, please feel free, because I would love for them to connect with you. And it's always in our description box that if you can connect with him as well. He is fabulous. I love working with him. And I tell you, he is a dynamic energy. And that's what I want you all to connect with, is the dynamic energies in your life, the people that keep you vibrating, the people that pour into your emotional bank accounts. So with that being said, everyone, don't forget to join me next week back here in our safe zone in the Whisperers Lounge. And like I said, if you want to join me on Thursdays at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Noom Vibe, feel free to drop me a message over in Instagram. Just say vibe and I'll get you the link so you can come over and join me. I'm telling you, we have some powerful discussions over there. So with that being said, everyone, my name is Sonya Live. I'm a lifestyle relationship counselor, fashion psychologist, holistic health and wellness practitioner, but I'm always honored to say that I am your host of Whispers in a Bottle Grown Talk Cocktail Fridays. Make sure that you check on your friends and your family, but also secure your bank accounts, secure your emotional bank accounts, and make rich deposits into them. All right, guys, take care.